All right, here's our boy Victor Wembanyama, and Wemby is playing like a god and blocking a shitload of shots this season. This video is going to be about basically if Wemby can have the best shot blocking season of all time. Maybe not this season, but just at some point in his career, and the players that have had the best shot blocking seasons of all time, and if Wemby's close to them or comparable to those players. We'll get into the exact numbers. He is close to and comparable to these players. We probably think Wilt Chamberlain when we're thinking the most blocks in an NBA season, most points, most rebounds. Honestly, the most anything in an NBA season, Wilt Chamberlain is always a safe name to throw in there and a safe guess to make. With that being said, watching Wemby play reminds me of Wilt Chamberlain, not so much stylistically, they definitely have different play styles, but just in terms of just being like unbelievable players. If you told me, hey, there's this player, he's 7'6" and he has a ball handle, he can shoot one-legged 40-foot threes, he blocks everyone's shot anywhere close to him, I would just say you're fucking lying. That guy doesn't exist. That guy never existed. But we have the video evidence of Wemby, so we can't deny it. With Wilt Chamberlain, there are some videos of Wilt Chamberlain, but not really a lot of video of his early days when he was playing just like an absolute god. So the stories about Wemby, we're gonna have the video evidence to be able to prove these stories were true and Wemby was an actual person. But that's what Wemby reminds me of. This must have been what it felt like when people were watching Wilt at a young age. And that's part of the fun with Wilt Chamberlain, is just like the myth and the lore of Wilt Chamberlain. There's all sorts of stories told about Wilt. I think he slept with 1,000 women. That's one of the one of the Wilt Chamberlain myths. It's just a fucking awesome myth. There's another myth I heard about him. Maybe it's true. I don't know if it's a myth or not. But somebody placed a quarter on the top of the backboard, and Wilt Chamberlain standing down there just off 2 feet and just jumps up off of 2 feet off of his vertical and grabs the quarter right off the top of the backboard and comes right back down. That's an amazing story. I feel like Wemby gets pretty close to the top of the backboard, so I don't think that's a totally unbelievable story. But back to the point, that's what Wemby reminds me of, is kind of just like a Wilt Chamberlain type of figure, because I'm watching what Wemby does with my own eyes and it's still fucking unbelievable. But back to Wemby shot blocking. Wemby's blocked 24 shots this season so far. The Sacramento Kings, as an entire team, they've also blocked 24 shots. And then the Bulls, Lakers, Jazz, Nuggets, Raptors, Knicks, Pelicans, the Heat, and the Nets, all of those teams have blocked less than 24 shots. So Wemby is either tied with or has blocked more shots than 10 teams in the NBA so far. It's only a 5 game sample size, so it's not a giant sample size, but if you just told me that and I hadn't done any research for my video and you asked me, hey, do you think any player has blocked more shots through 5 games than 10 other teams in the NBA? I'd probably tell you no. I don't think any player has ever blocked more shots than 10 other teams in the NBA over a 5 game sample size, but there have been players that have done it, and it's not Wilt Chamberlain. I had heard of Mark Eaton before I made this video. I just didn't realize what a fucking beast he was. But Mark Eaton in the 1984-1985 season, Mark was fucking eating out there. Y'all like what I did there? I'm sure I'm not the first person to make up that joke. But anyway, Mark Eaton had 456 blocks throughout the 1984-1985 season. So it's just fucking ridiculous. If you're wondering what he was averaging 5.6 blocks per game. And of course, he played in all 82 of the NBA games. So the most blocks anyone's averaged throughout an entire NBA season is the 5.6 blocks for Mark Eaton. So he has the highest average throughout NBA history, just across one season. And it's not like he only played 40 games. He played all 82 games and still blocked 5.6 shots per game, which is just fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. So, again, Mark Eaton has the highest average through one season at the 5.6 blocks. He has the highest total blocks throughout one season. Both those things happened in that 1985 season, and he had 456 total blocks throughout that season. So it was just fucking ridiculous. Mark Eaton was an absolute animal. Again, I had heard his name. I didn't realize what a beast he was, though. Mark Eaton, he was 7'4", 275 pounds, so he's a big old motherfucker. Kind of similar to Wemby size. I don't think Wemby's quite 275 pounds, but as far as just being a big old dudes with long wingspans, Wemby's kind of similar to Mark Eaton's frame as far as his height and wingspan goes. Mark Eaton was playing 34 minutes per game in that season, so that's comparable to Wemby. Wemby plays about 34 minutes per game. As far as playing all 82 games, I think that would be the tough part. I think Wemby, just with how competitive he is, I think he definitely wants to have at least one season where he plays all 82 games. I can't say I'm 100% for sure, but I'm really, really confident Wemby wants to have at least one of those seasons where he doesn't miss any of the games. Just with his mindset and his attitude, I really think he wants that notch under his belt because Wemby's a European player. He's not really like all these other American players in a good way. Wemby, he really wants to go out there and compete. He doesn't want people to think he was lazy out there or he cut any corners. He really wants to just be true to the game. Kobe Bryant is Wemby's idol, so it's really refreshing to see Wemby just kind of adopting that Mamba mentality. But again, the 34 minutes per game, I think that's manageable. That is about what Wemby does. He's averaging 4.8 blocks per game this season, so Wemby, he's not super far away from the 5.6 blocks. I think he could average 5.5, 5.6 blocks per game for an entire season. It would just be the 82 games. Right now, let's say the season ended today, the 4.8 blocks Wemby's averaging, that would be the fourth highest block average for one season in NBA history. Elmore Smith in 1974, he had 4.85 blocks. That is ahead of Wemby, but Wemby's right there with Elmore Smith. In 1986, Manute Bol, that's Bobo's father. Manute Bol was a legend, but he had 4.96 blocks in 1986. Then, of course, Mark Eaton in that 1985 season, he averaged 5.6 blocks, and he played all 82 games. So I think Wemby could average the 5.6 blocks. I just don't know if he's going to have a season where he plays all 82 games and can average the 5.6 blocks for all 82 games because there's not a lot of records I look at and think, man, I don't know if Wemby can beat that record, but this is one record, and it's hard to say because Wemby is such a fucking amazing shot blocker. I want to say the best shot blocker I've ever seen. I can say that he's the best shot blocker that I've ever seen in person and just watched playing live basketball, but I'm not going to say I don't see him breaking Mark Eaton's record of the 456 blocks in one season, just a fucking ridiculous number. I think Wemby can do it, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if he doesn't break that record. And that's just honestly, it's just showing homage to how fucking amazing Mark Eaton was at blocking shots. And he was a 7'4" dude. He was similar to Wemby in height and size, and just had the durability to play all 82 of those games. Back in it was 1986 when Mark Eaton broke that record, rather than 1985 season. Back in 1985, there was a lot more physicality allowed in basketball. Needless to say, it was more physical game, hand checking, and just playing down low in the paint. They allowed way more swim moves and pushing and shoving down low and pulling each other to establish paint position. But with that being said, back in 1985, this would make things harder for Mark Eaton. Once players get up in the air, referees were not really calling those offensive fouls, or players jump up and they stick out that forearm to kind of push the shot blocker away. Or maybe you put your arm up and the offensive player jumps up and hooks your arm to pull your arm down and get up into their layup package. In today's NBA, they're calling those offensive fouls a lot more. You're not really getting away with jumping up and kind of hooking and moving the shot blocker's arm out of the way, or going up and hitting them with that off arm to push the shot blocker away from you. Way more often than not, they're calling those offensive fouls in today's NBA. So back in Mark Eaton's era, he wasn't getting those calls, which just makes it even more impressive what he was able to do, averaging the 5.6. That's just such a fucking stupid number. It doesn't even sound real. 5.6 blocks per game for a full 82 game season and not missing any of those games. My last point, what I was saying about Wemby earlier, when he's either tied with or ahead of 10 different teams in the NBA for total block shots, I was thinking, is that sustainable? Can he do that for an entire 82 game season? We'll see how Wemby holds up. He's all about yoga and flexibility and durability. When I watch Wemby play, I'm a diehard Spurs fan. I'm not really worried about Wemby getting injured when I watch him play. I'm just kind of enjoying the magic as it unfolds in front of me. But with that being said, as long as Wemby can stay healthy, I think he'll be just fine. If he can play the full 82 games, it is sustainable for him to block. It sounds ridiculous for him to block more shots than 10 or more teams through an entire 82 game season. Because Mark Eaton, that season where he had the shot block record, there were 13 different teams where Mark Eaton had more total blocks than them throughout the whole season. So just like how Wemby's tied with or ahead of 10 different teams for total shot blocks, Mark Eaton did that the entire 82 game season, and there were 13 teams, entire teams, that had less shot blocks than Mark Eaton by himself. So Mark Eaton was just a fucking beast out there, just blocking the shit out of everybody's shots. Mark Eaton has passed away at this point, so rest in peace, Mark. But if he was still alive, I don't think there's any doubt that Wemby would get with him and try to get some shot blocking advice from Mark Eaton. So rest in peace to the shot blocking GOAT, Mark Eaton. We'll see if Wemby can possibly challenge that record, but it's just fucking ridiculous. Again, 456 blocks, played every single game throughout the 82 game season, and averaged 5.6 blocks for the entire 82 game season. It's just fucking stupid. There's a lot of players that are, a lot of centers and power forwards that are never going to have a game where they block 5 or 6 shots in one game in their entire career. So it just goes to show how amazing Mark was with the 5.6 block average for 82 games straight. It's just fucking unbelievable. But please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 7 million subscribers. Please let me know if you think Wemby has a shot at getting close to or possibly breaking Mark Eaton's record. I do think he has a shot. I'm not going to doubt really anything as far as Wemby's potential and his ceiling, but this is one of those records where I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he didn't break this record, because it's just so incredible to average 5.6 blocks for an entire season. But please let me know what you think. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.